April 10th, I am your host, Bill Noble. Concerned? Worried about the inflation report? Positions down, altcoins moving, meme coins getting hurt? What can you do? I'll help you out. All right, let's welcome who's here. We have Sean, Kitasira. We have Line Grunt, Stahu, Mahet, Eldritch, It's Lena, Marco, Rick, Nana, good morning. Welcome. Lisa, New Wind. Hi there. Zorbis, Dilcapio. P5, good morning. All right. Clintus, Riyadh. Zex, how you doing? Tom, ME, Railroaded. Lucas, good morning. Powdery Whale. Javier is here. All right, as people file in, what I'm going to do, Proto Hypes. Hi. We're going to call this the after action report. So one of the benefits of having a show like this, especially if it's daily, is you get to watch people be wrong, right? Kramer has made himself famous for it. I'm going to pass on that kind of notoriety, but I would call this basically an after action report after doing some not so good trades myself. So I can tell you what I did as a way to help you reorganize what you may have to do. Okay. Let's start with some news. Okay, actually, I'm going to start with DGen. Now, odd that you would start news with a coin, but I am. So let me label this. So this is like the diary of a trader part. All right, now let's take these lines out for a second. Now, this is the spike off Brian's video right here. Now, at the time, I was kind of like, I really like how this has got a downward sloping feel to it. And this thing feels like it's just going to break out, right? Of this like flag style picture. Okay. And, that flag style picture may still be valid. We will see. But I definitely was FOMOing in here. Like I FOMO'd in down here, right? And I added more here, only to see this thing do what it's doing. Now, since this is, along with TrueFi, one of the only two good projects on base or, big projects, I decided to leave it. I'm taking heat, but I left it. And what I did was I got out of a meme coin that I liked, which was KeyCat. So I just kind of sacrificed it. Literally, I probably bought the high 2 days ago and sold the low this morning. And I call it making the sacrifice. Okay. Now here is what I don't want to see in DGen. Okay. I don't want to see. Somebody explained to me in the chat that big wallets may be selling this. Now that could come from two sources. It's a small ecosystem, and any hedge funds that are playing in the system are moving money from DGen to TrueFi, to Trueflation. I'm sorry. Right. In other words, just move money from something that's stalled to something that might be hot. Or it could actually be, DGen insiders just taking advantage of liquidity to just say, okay, the market lost momentum and I'm going to get out. Now, how will we know? How will we know? So I believe, and I got this from Peter Brandt a long time ago, that these triangles with flat bottoms aren't bullish, right? In crypto, they just kind of go down here. And then if they go down here, they just kind of crack. So we're not there yet. It's not there yet. It's still possible that this is the structure. So I'm going to leave this for now because this could just be a breakout, a twisted, awful return move, followed by a rotation higher. Okay, but I'm going to lose interest in this if I see it down here. Right? I don't like flat triangles. The way this looks right now is okay. And I think with this is my opinion, I ran into kind of a perfect storm. Big players that I didn't know about might have been looking to sell to rotate into truflation. Okay. At the same time, you had this wicked inflation number, which is scary, right? Like a joke in my Goldman chat room was January's inflation was seasonal. That's what they call the numbers. In other words, it's just a quirk in the statistics. February was a quirk in the statistics. And now March was like, oh my God. When the fact of the matter is the Fed's not hiking rates because if they do, the government can't fund itself. And I honestly don't know, unless stocks crash, what this has to do with crypto in many ways. Like, yes, it would be great if we got Fed rate cuts. But at this point, if we get Fed rate cuts, it's going to be because they left rates too high or had to leave rates too high for too long. Okay. So I'm not assuming that this is going to be like the end of crypto. A lot of people are like, Bitcoin could go to 64. This crash could accelerate later today. Okay. All right. Maybe. But I'm giving you my game plan in DGen terms, right? In other words, DGen can stay above this line, but if DGen approaches these lows, that's when I'm going to start making adjustments. All right. Let's go to this. Now, this is truflation. One of the reasons why I knew I might have been in trouble with DGen and KeyCat is when somebody said that this could be the chain link of base. Now, I remember Chainlink in 2020. Chainlink was nothing. I mean, it was like it came out in 2017 and died. And Chainlink and Compound went from nothing to top 5, like instantly. So when someone starts comparing this to Chainlink, I take notice. Also, again, this has a $500 million valuation, but these type of square consolidation patterns with smaller cap coins, that has been constructive. The remaining question is truflation and DGen a zero-sum game? In other words, if truflation goes up, does that mean DGen goes down? If this is the chain link, if this really is the chain link of base, then I would assume it's going to suck whatever liquidity is in base out of other coins. Does that mean you have to freak out? No. It doesn't, but this bears watching, because if this took off, especially with other coins, the market being generally weak, you might have to adjust your position. And of course, anybody who's long this right now looks like a genius unless the VCs start dumping on it. Okay, so that is my trading diary. And then I'm going to move to Solana and other things. Okay. Okay, so someone's asking for TA on True. I'm hoping we covered that. Is it True F or True? Please let me know in the comments. All right. Now I'm going to go to some other news. Markets / rate cut bets after U.S. inflation rises to 3.5. Figures exceed expectation as the Fed considers how long to keep rates at a 23-year high. Okay, well, there's no way they can cut rates unless there's an emergency with this type of number, right? And of course, the biggest risk to crypto is that this number creates downward price action in equities and stock and bonds. Bonds have already kind of gotten hammered and crypto has weathered the storm, but we'll look at the charts. the Fed is eventually going to have to cut rates, but if they do it, it's going to be kind of like an emergency breakthrough. Now, I do like this. Why big tech fines don't work. In other words, these big tech companies can do what they want. They violate the law. They just pay the fine and they move on. So if you've got positions in AI, real world assets, and you're taking heat, I don't know, man. Do you want these guys running the world? Like, I don't want to be irresponsible. I already got a little bit cowboy bullish in front of the numbers, but you know what? I'm just like, I still don't want these guys running my life. I don't, right? OpenAI and Meta ready new AI models capable of reasoning. Do you notice that there's this creep? In the beginning, it was like, well, artificial general intelligence will be ready in 5 years, 3 years. Musk goes next year. And these guys are probably going to roll it out for Christmas. You know what I'm saying? It's like, go back to your AI coins, go back to your RWA, and no one's even really talked about gaming. And no one's talked about ETH because, gold and silver are still, along with crypto, one of the only places that you're going to be able to protect your purchasing power in an inflationary environment. We'll go over the moronic buying of the dollar today, but the dollar is losing purchasing power. So I would think that would actually drive people towards crypto once the hysterics are over. Now, what I define by hysterics, okay, going back, this is the dollar chart where you can watch the 4-hour God candle in DXY as higher interest rates equal higher dollar because it's more attractive to get the currency and drop it in and get 5%. That's how thinking in fiat works. Or that's just how algorithms work. Strong inflation, buy the dollar. A lot of people probably got short in the foreign exchange market. That market is famous for running stops, and they're running all the stops all at once. However, for the common man, the dollar is losing purchasing power. Okay. So this is something to keep in mind. And this I find totally unbelievable. The president takes heat if something goes wrong and sometimes doesn't get credit if some things go right. Okay. And FT says, why is the president not getting credit? And that's because the job market is hot for everyone everywhere. Okay. So the unemployment number is very low. However, the media's desire to give the administration a bump just for that, it feels like they're reaching. All right. Inflation pressures are beginning to wane, but not all central banks have taken action yet. Okay. This page covers factors affecting policymakers' decisions on borrowing costs. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the U.S. numbers are hot, but there was a controversy yesterday about companies getting the numbers before they came out, which could also impact what's going on with Truflation. It's kind of a perfect storm, right? They came out right before a number. They sucked money out of the base system, and then there was an integrity question with the numbers. Amazing. Hong Kong set to approve its first spot Bitcoin ETF. So back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be driven by inflows from ETFs. ETH, I think, is going to be driven by inflows from institutions that miss Bitcoin and people who are eventually going to want to get over into the base ecosystem, because even though Solana may be making a bottom, probably the thing I did, like the biggest mistake that I made, was not realizing that the bull market was created by Solana. So if Solana fell apart, the market might fall apart. Like, that was the big mistake. Now, I don't know if going off and getting all hysterical Solana, like my pattern match, kind of has maybe a low coming in here in Solana. All right. But to be honest, when Solana did fall apart, that's when the market started to trade bad. That's when it started to trade bad. Okay, so let's try to do some TA on Solana, like on the fly. Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is everyone who's bought Solana pretty much since the end of March has now been washed out. And this is partly what I mean by these flat triangles. Is this a box? I don't know that you want to see Solana below 160. Right? Because Solana made the bull market. It can unmake it. This is a 4-hour chart. Okay. So if Solana bounces, it's a typical Solana puke on a network outage. If Solana doesn't bounce, there's a bigger problem. And I think basically whatever you're doing it in altcoins off what happens in Solana. And if you don't know what to do, I can tell you right now, I did it this morning. Like I was like, okay, I got stopped out of 2 positions. I'm just going to stick the money in Bitcoin. Because I know when Bitcoin turns and everyone's done with whatever they're doing today, when Bitcoin turns, it's going to 100. Now, what can happen in the meantime is a function of this. I continue to believe, and I've seen this all over TikTok and YouTube, that, I don't know, unless somebody in the chat can tell me, I don't know what the value proposition in a weaker meme coin world to go back to Solana and have Solana be this like ultimate destination for altcoin trading when you've got alternatives. Because this was like not, most of the time when Solana goes down, it's for like a day. Then you've had the dramatic underperformance of ETH along with it. I don't know who's selling ETH at 3,200. But if you don't know what to do and you're new and you're like, wow, Bill's only on the air for a day, I think you're watching Solana at 160. If Solana's above 160, okay, it's just a weak, slumpy market. If Solana's below 160 and you've got all these longs up here trapped, okay, there's a lot of room to move lower. That said, when you have these type of consolidations, we'll go over the charts in the PowerPoint. Everybody's bullish up here. Everyone's bearish down here. And I think between DGen and Solana, particularly since I think that's where people watching this are probably involved, right? If DGen holds a bid, great. If Solana holds a bid here, great. If it doesn't, move to Bitcoin. What's the worst case scenario in Bitcoin? 64? What's the upside in Bitcoin? 100. So that is the game plan. Okay, let's see who else is in the chat. See if we have any requests. Okay. Okay, so Marco says if BTC turns to 100, wouldn't that push the altcoins up too? Yes. I'm just saying in the short term, right? If you don't know what to do, not investment advice, go to Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's downside is 64, its upside is 100. If altcoins crack for whatever reason, right, the downside is, substantial, particularly if it's a meme coin bust. Like, let me say that another way. Bitcoin could go from 64 to 100, but that doesn't mean every altcoin comes back with it. It also, even if every altcoin does come back, it comes back from what level? So one of the most important things to learn from a guy like me is that when stocks go down and interest rates go up and bonds go down and and the dollar goes up, it makes it really, really hard for like highly speculative gambling style instruments to flourish, right? That's why the market's getting hammered so hard, right? Because there's a lot of speculative juices, a lot of fun going on in crypto. And when the bond market goes, oh no, about inflation, it's not the inflation that gets crypto. It's not the inflation that gets the meme coins. It's the rising interest rates in the bond market. right? The bond market can always pull the punch bowl from the party, right? That's an old saying. Bonds and the Fed stopped the dot-com bubble in 2000. Now, look, I'm not trying to get not trying to get hysterical, but you need to get real about super gambling style risk assets, right? So if you're in a gambling, like I did it, screwed up in KeyCat, bought the high, sold the low, took the loss, moved it to Bitcoin. Now, will I go back into KeyCat if conditions improve? Oh, yeah. I'd probably buy more DGen if DGen holds, or move over to Trueflation. There's no way I'm leaving the base network, right? And I left ETH in the base wallet. So it's not like I'm running. There's no way I'm selling ETH at 3,200. Personally, this is just me. I don't care if ETH goes to 2,400. I'm going to buy more because I know when people come to base, they're coming in. So I have no problem putting money in ETH or Bitcoin and watching that go down 10%. But if you buy the wrong meme coin and it goes down, they don't always come back. They don't, right? I mean, think about it. There was a meme coin craze and what? It was like Pepe and Bonk, and they were the ones that survived. And it was Doge and Sheeb, and they were the only ones for a long time. So again, I had to do this. I was like, okay, why am I in this? Well, because I wanted to make a fast buck. I got excited. I thought this was good. Boom, wrong. Out. Move to Bitcoin. Altcoins will come back. The good ones will. Hopefully that answers the question. Okay, Marco is looking for TrueFi. So let's maybe open it up for live TA a little bit before I go to PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, so this is TrueFi. All right, so we talked about this yesterday. It looks like TrueFi is hanging out around the 38% retracement of its overall move, and it looks like that's 13 cents. Okay. Now, let's just squeeze in on a daily chart. And this is going on in a couple different places in the market right now. Right? So KeyCat was one of them, actually. So the market is sitting close to like a prior all-time, like a prior high zone. Actually, I even stretched it out this way last time I did it. So, you know, TrueFi is at the bottom of this important zone. So it would be a really good idea if 13 cents held. Okay. Because again, this looks just like Bitcoin at 69K, right? Everything is trying to break out and is now coming back down, and we wait to see if it holds. You know, one thing that I do see here, and maybe it's already happened. So if you zoom in, see this Williams oscillator around 0? That means a big move is coming. All right. Now, let's talk about that for a second. I never want to be the guy, the most hated person in crypto is the late stage bear who goes, oh yeah, see, it's down now. Now I hate it. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not doing that. And I'm definitely not doing that in this coin or any coin because it's sitting on support. So I want to stay open to some kind of turnaround. All right. That said, like in DGen, like in Solana, if the market starts to break down from here, I'm going to manage risk and I'm just going to move it to Bitcoin and come back later. That's it. So is there a reason to worry right now? No, it's on support and there might be a big move, which could be in your favor. If that big move's not in your favor, then you have to make an adjustment, period. Right? Because there's no way, again, this is me. There's no way I set this portfolio up because, you know, when I talk to people in this group, they really want, they want to know something that sounds like advice. Like, They want to know, okay, I have DGen. What should I do? And the only way to get around that legally is for me to have it and say, okay, I have DGen and this is what I did. That's the easiest way to do it. So I don't have this, but I told you the plan for the things that I do have. There's no point in panicking into support, and it's never paid to panic sell the market on news that we already know about. Yes, inflation is disappointing, but I don't think this is fresh information. I still don't think that. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. Hopefully that helped answer the question. Okay, will the 10-year bond auction meeting directly affect the crypto market? Okay, yes. So when bonds are issued, how bonds perform after the government does an auction can be a very big market moving event. I would suspect with interest rates having gone up, that demand for bonds might actually be a little bit better once the Treasury is selling trillions upon trillions. Okay, so we have live TA request for optimism. Okay, so again, this is a part of the base narrative. Okay, so this is the optimism daily chart. So let me try to clean this up. Okay. So this, like Solana, is a classic case where you have to be real. Okay. The 38% retracement of like the most recent move up in optimism is right here at 333. That's the 38% retracement. Now, my rule is if it goes below the 38% retracement and stays there, it could go to the 62% retracement. So if you have an optimism portfolio in your portfolio, theoretically, if it doesn't recover above 333, it can go to 241. And if you're not comfortable with that, then by the end of today, you might want to make a decision as to like perhaps taking this position and reducing it. Okay. Now that said, it is always very difficult, right? These type of consolidations, particularly around obvious trend lines, you can just see it's like they stop out the longs, they stop out the shorts. Now they're stopping out the longs, and we're going back and forth. As a long-term hodl, I think Brian has said this is fine, right? This is like some big cap that you can just sort of tuck away. Now, everybody says that until it goes to 241 and you're losing your mind when this price action is already giving you a hard time. So if you're having a hard time emotionally now, I'm not saying you are, I'm saying just giving you the live TA, right? If this thing is below 333, the risk is 241, period. If you're not comfortable with 241, make an adjustment. Okay, Kevin wants thoughts on higher. Okay. So when it came to higher, so I was in this, and then I rotated into KeyCat because I just liked KeyCat better. That's just the boomer in me. All right. So this is higher on a 30-minute chart. Now, frankly, this is typical for crypto. And a lot of times when you have these consolidations that look like bull flags, they actually wind up not bull flags. They break out of the bottom. So that's one thing that happened. Now, let's take a positive attitude. The good news about higher is that this really could be more of a box, which in meme coins can be constructive, right? So believe it or not, even though this is not my personal favorite, this chart actually is not terrible because the consolidation is square rather than diagonal. So if you look at this and you look at some hopeful action in DGen, you go, you know what? Maybe this is not as bad as everyone thinks it is. Maybe this is closer to a bottom and a top. Like if DGen holds and higher holds, like this area around, I don't know. Let's call it. Let's call it 0.054, right? Now, part of the reason why I didn't stay in higher, like when I first understood what it was after Brian's video, was that it was kind of in the middle of the range, right? In the middle of the range, there's nothing to do. It's like you're either selling it up here or buying it down here. So if you're looking to buy higher, then maybe it's going to give you a better opportunity. But right now, it's in a square consolidation phase. And the real question you want to be asking yourself is, do I want to be in meme coins in a scary inflation environment? My answer to that is the only meme coin I want to be in is DGen because it's a meme coin plus other things. All right. That's just me. But this chart for the moment is fine. All right. And then we might as well look at Normie because if someone wants to know about higher, they want to know about Normie too. Okay. All right. Again, with Normie, for me, I kind of heard about it in here and there was like, there's nothing to do because it's in the middle. And that turned out to be a good trade, right? In other words, like not doing anything was a good thing. Now, I was interested in this because it is a box. They broke out of the bottom of the box, and I was kind of hoping that they were going to turn around and take out the top of the box. This is Normie 30-minute. And I know, like I've seen XT's work, and I know how these trading guys work. They want to buy stuff after everyone's washed out, and then it turns back up again. So what's going on here? Well, nothing. Like I said, this is like a do nothing area. And if it comes down here, then we have to react to whatever happens. Truthfully, I would prefer it not go back down here. In other words, if this was the real reversal, I don't want to see it back down here. Hopefully this is helping you. Yes, KeyCat is a meme coin on base. So I might as well cover it. So I got chopped up. Again, I can tell you my KeyCat story. It's easier. So this is KeyCat. This is 30 minutes, right? Now I'm trying to find the Pepe of base just because it would be crazy not to, right? So I identified this box, right? And I said, you know what? It's trying to break out, but it can't. It can't get through this resistance and it can't get through this resistance. But when I saw this pop here, like when I saw this, I was like, oh man, this is going. Because they have all this resistance here, but they brought it back. I was like, all right. And they just smacked it. And then when it failed again, I was like, see ya. I probably puked it out right here. Right? Because I thought it was going to break out and it just didn't. And this is an $80 million meme coin. Like an $80 million meme coin is not a cheap meme coin. Especially since, again, my whole rule about the box, I mean, it couldn't break out of the top of the box. And now it's sitting here. This is like, it's like no man's land. It's not support. It's not resistance. It's kind of floating out there in a world where the bond market is scaring everybody out of the water like a giant shark. What is my perception for Link and ADA long open this morning? All right. Well, I'm going to let the guys who trade do their thing. You know, I can tell you that like sometimes it's fun to see what the trading guys see. So this is Chainlink, right? So I'm sure this is not what they're working off, but from a risk reward point of view, if you could grab Chainlink down here and Chainlink turned around and broke above 1876, right? So how do these guys think, right? If I'm wrong, again, I have no idea what the analysis is, but you know, I know how they think. You know, this is my risk and my return. If this is right, and again, they're doing different work than I am for sure, I would guess. But in theory, this is 25, right? So, I mean, you know, you get involved at 7, you know, at whatever it is, 17, you stop out at 16.35, you risk $1 to make 9 or 8. That seems like sensible trading to me, but you know, I got to let these guys do their own work. Okay, so Cardano, guess we might look at Cardano maybe more of on an intraday chart. Let's try Cardano here. Okay, so here's another thing that trading guys love, and I don't blame them. Right? Here's what they love to do, right? Pull up a chart of Cardano. Here's a box, right? And what do they do at the bottom of the box? They wash everyone out, right? They just take it down. They scare everybody. Like, look at this. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time they've taken Cardano down below this low from March, you know, they haven't been able to keep it down. So again, what's a trading guy going to do? He's going to say, all right, well, you know what? They've been trying to break this low and they can't do it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to like risk this and bet that maybe it rotates back to the top of the box, or if it really breaks out, because, you know, every layer one on the planet has been declared dead because of Solana. And I don't know if that's true anymore. You know, those guys cannot have a network outage for multiple days and have everybody say, oh yeah, every other layer one is dead. Now, again, I'm sure this is not what they're thinking. They may have their own work. It's also interesting that, you know, let's go back to the 4-hour chart, see if it's still there. Yeah. It's somewhat interesting that they did manage like a marginal new low here. Okay. And stochastics so far, like the momentum indicators have not confirmed the new low. So I'm essentially reverse engineering what a trader would think. A trader would think I have a very small amount of risk where I can just stop out. Solana breaks 160, I can bail. But if this is panic, I have a definable risk reward. So, you know, I guess I just said I wasn't going to comment on what they were doing, and I guess I just did. But, you know, I understand what they're doing on a risk reward basis. Okay, Arrow. Boy, this thing is something else, huh? Like part of me thought my chart was like broken this morning. I was like, Is this thing moving today? Is this like, is the data bad? It's like no one is touching this thing. It's like it's not like this like, if you go, this looks like trueflation, right? This 30-minute chart, like this is stupid bullish. Anything in a square in crypto, like that comes from the history of ETH. I know because I used to plot it by hand. So, I mean, my attitude in Arrow would be, I don't know, if you have positions that are not working, you want to sit and hide somewhere other than Bitcoin. This base narrative is not going anywhere. Just because you get stopped out, this is what I'm telling myself this. Just because you get stopped out in some stupid meme coin has nothing to do with the base narrative. I mean, I know this guy in YouTube, man, this guy is on TikTok going, this big tough guy named Crypto Keeper. He's like, listen, if you're not in base and ton, you are missing out. You will miss the future. So I have no idea what the case is to sell this. If anything, this is telling you that, yeah, you guys can have fun with your old news, and stocks, bonds may or may not be priced properly, but this has nothing to do with what we're doing over here, which is the future of technology and culture will probably be traded on Solana base. And I'm not a ton expert, but I'm perfectly content to stay kind of a base maximalist, right? Like Brian Young is right about this, whether I got into DGen at the right prices or not. And this is what that is telling you. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to PowerPoint now, because there is, like we have to pay attention to what's going on here, particularly in stocks and things like that. We just have to watch it. Okay, so this is the God candle in the dollar, nauseating. All right, this is Solana on the DeMark charts. So here's the good news. The first part of a trend or the end of a small trend ends with this large 9 signal. So if you have 9 bars, that is either the end of the first part of a trend or the end of a little mini trend or a correction. Okay. So there's plenty of evidence here to indicate that, this should be it in Solana. That should be it. I talked about this later with using other charts. Like that should be it. Now, that said, in theory, with this DeMark work, if you go 1 through 9, and then you have a failed rally. So if you're going down, there should be a counter trend move. There should be a rally in Solana. If that rally fails badly, then you have 2 more weeks of downside, or you have at least 4 to 5 more days of downside. So the net of the net is in Solana, beware the failed rally. I would prefer to be optimistic at this point. You do not want to see a failed rally in Solana. Like you get some big rally or you get a couple of up days and then it starts to turn ugly. So it's either a rally that fails or, and then boom, down again. You're going to have to adjust risk at that point, even if it's for 3 or 4 days. So is this good? Yes. Hopefully it stays good. Because frankly, if I missed anything as an analyst, when this top happened in Solana, right, and I was like, they had network outages, I should have been like, this bull market was made by Solana and it can be undone by Solana. And I probably would have saved myself 5% because I could have gone in and bought DGen and Trueflation. I could have just, glided right in today. Whatever. Not going to cry over spilt milk, even though it does make me feel bad, which is hopefully the part of the value in the show. Now, bonds. This is TLT. You can watch this. It's a stock. It's an ETF that follows bonds. So as you can see, bonds have been going down for a while, all of March. This is a 4-hour chart. This is a 13 bottom in bonds and looks like they're doing kind of a blow off bottom. We should hope so. In other words, this is kind of like Solana, except in legacy. It's like, okay, that should be it. That should be it. Because the next trade, in my opinion, is what did they break by having to leave rates at 5%? What breaks? Hopefully it's not the stock market. Now, for the moment, the stock market seems okay. If you look at a daily chart of the stock market, it's basically up only. But this looks like a simple zigzag correction. This is SPY representing the S&P 500. So again, this is on support, and I'm not going to sell on support and lose it. Now, if it breaks down on Monday, different story. For the moment, my overall thought process with looking at stocks, bonds, and a dollar is, okay, it was bad. You traded it. Now what? We'll see what they do on Monday. Okay, this is more information. This is interesting. A record high 1 out of every 3 homes for sale is now a new home. That means somebody bought a new home and 1 of 3 people is turning around and puking it, either because they have a problem with their job, the value of the house has gone down, or they can't afford the payments. In comparison, after the 2008 financial crisis, 1 out of 20 homes for sale was a new home. So we've built a lot. People FOMO'd in at the top or were forced in. Mortgage rates are higher. They can't make the payments or don't want to make the payments, or they feel like they got hosed on the value of the house and they're just trying to sell and get out. The impact of higher for longer, right? Everyone's like, oh, higher for longer. Isn't that interesting? Oh, no, it's going to affect risk assets. Well, maybe. Or you should buy gold and silver and Bitcoin and Ethereum because some legacy institution is going to break. And I'm still sticking with Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Doge, anything that's money. You are not going to get me off that trade for a 3 or 4% decline. You're just not. And even if Bitcoin goes to 64, I'm going to buy more. It's that simple. It is that simple because of this. I mean, this is not some theory, folks. This is out there. This is out there. India, they don't really have crypto in India. So what are they doing? They're importing silver. Silver imports into India. Mooning. This is another interesting fact. No one is interested in gold ETFs, but it would see that this purple line, people are interested in holding silver ETFs. Why? Well, because when gold goes up, silver can go up faster. It's called a beta play. I also think there's a lot of favorable beta plays in Bitcoin-related equities, which we'll get to. So if everyone's buying silver, and silver can be good for ETH, even though this thing with the dollar is annoying, why is everyone selling ETH at 3,400 with this kind of interest in silver? That's crazy. MicroStrategy. Okay, MicroStrategy is at 2,000, and then it corrects. It's a zigzag. You can chat GBT this. It's the most classic type of correction. A, B, C. A, B, C, and you have a DeMark 13 bottom. This is the MicroStrategy 2-hour chart. I mean, you really want to sell MicroStrategy unless there's going to be a stock market crash? If anything, it looks like they just cheapened it up for you. I mean, MicroStrategy was at 1950. They knocked the stock down to 1,400. Every time they do this, oh, MicroStrategy's done. Oh, it's not. Yeah, the Bitcoin ETF's going to kill it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it just comes back and it explodes. Marathon Digital, Bitcoin mining, basically down only. This stock went from 24 to 17 with Bitcoin not moving. Everybody thinks that Bitcoin halving, yes, the Bitcoin miners get less money, but that's already factored in by the fact that these stocks have not performed. They have not performed. And you got a 13 bottom. If you wanted to know what DeMark was, you would just take your phone, take a screenshot of this, because this is a perfect DeMark. Like the 1 through 9 is the setup period. You get the counter trend bounce, and then it just resumes until the 13 selling climax. Marathon Digital down $7 from its high. Buy or sell? You know, I have to leave it up to you, but if I had extra money, I can tell you I would be doing this in equities. Okay, ETH 3467 impresses me as an important support point. If that holds, I'll be encouraged that this thing can rotate back to 3875. Enough of the down in the mouth stuff. I'm looking for support. I'm looking for opportunities, right? And if I get it, great. And if it doesn't work, I'll get it later. But I do think you are headed for a summer that's going to be, you know, at least in the beginning, the first 2 months, hot, hot, hot. Bitcoin. Okay, this is the dance around 69K. The point here is, we discussed this yesterday, these 618 and 1618 fib numbers. Yeah, there can be battles there. And I thought that this was going to go. I thought this was like, okay, well, this is their third attempt. They blew through it. They're going to go, and then they drop it on me. This is very typical of what can happen right before some kind of gigantic move occurs. They shake you out. They shake you out. They shake you out. I don't know. They take it to 64. I don't see that, but you know, what are they going to do if they shake everyone out? Then it just goes up harder when everyone comes back in. And I don't think they can shake everybody out down to 64. I don't think so. So what did I say about bull markets? You know, one, they don't let you in. And what goes up? You know, the thing that no one likes, no one owns, no one can get access to, that's Bitcoin pups, or the things that they frustrate you. This is a frustration trade in Bitcoin. Okay. AVAX, possibly the same thing. Sitting at the 62% retracement of its last move up. Security token functionality. I mean, I was on a Twitter space with the guys from Mantra, ticker symbol OHM, and they were basically saying that, you know, they're in kind of a friendly competition with Avalanche because Avalanche has a security token functionality in its C chain. And that is completely not traded. That's not even, no one's even discussing it. When people talk RWA, no one talks Avalanche, and they can't control themselves to get out of it right on support, which is why it's really so hard unless there's like a failed rally to be like, okay, yeah, inflation was bad. Okay, the market went down. Okay, this was really unpleasant. Like last night, you know, you're going to bed and I'm watching KeyCat vaporize. I'm like, oh, wow. Remember I talked about the low being this like dark abyss? Okay, here's your analyst sitting there in the dark going, oh, wow, this is not good. At midnight, I'm like, this could be the abyss. Plus or minus 1 or 2 days. Okay, whiff. You know, do you know how many people that I respect saw this bounce off this trend line and was like, whiffs going to double digits? A lot. Now, I've never played in this. I missed this, so I just let it go. You know, there's a trend line here. You don't need me to explain to you about a trend line. I think for the sake of the market, Solana and WIF need to hold because, as one person said, WIF is basically 4x levered Solana. So WIF kind of has to hold. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. I think we went overtime here. Okay, does Doge have a bearish rising wedge? Okay, let's look. It's actually an interesting question. So somebody is drawing this in Doge. Now, for educational purposes, what's a bearish rising wedge? It's a person on a treadmill. It's a market on a treadmill running uphill, right? You're running uphill, and then that incline starts to get steeper. They're raising the incline on the treadmill, and you start to get tired. And then when it finally breaks down, you kind of collapse. The lactic acid gets to you, and that rising wedge, it leads to a sudden drop. Okay, that's possible, but I'm not going to draw Doge that way right now, right? Because I prefer this. Whoops. In other words, I like the fact that using basic hidden pivot, Doge is taking out this 19 cents level. And remember, while everybody was FOMOing into meme coins that may or may not have made sense, this is fine. This is money. And I'm not going to get off that just because they rattled my cage on inflation. I'm just not. Right? I'm absolutely not going to get off this train because this is big enough to be money. And I think the inflation narrative is going to switch from, oh my God, inflation, we have to buy the dollar because rates are high, which is so last year, to, oh my God, we have to find a different kind of money. Period. Right? LQ. Okay. So this looks like an AI coin. Interesting. Okay. Well, the first glance is this is what I said I didn't like about DGen. I don't really like these flat triangles. So here is, and I know that all the trading guys draw like this. So what you would want to see is something go below this and then come screaming back above it, right? In other words, you want the bearish formation to be bearish temporarily and then come back and fail. You want an invalidated bearish pattern. LNQ. And it's a very good chart to look at because you know what? This chart applies to what we were talking about it with DGen, a different version with Solana. In other words, if they break support, they better unbreak it quickly. And if they do, it's good. But the risk reward guys are going to be like, yeah, this is my risk and my reward is much higher. Is that true here? I don't know. But again, we covered that with Chainlink and I wasn't sharing the screen. Whoops. My bad. Okay. I'm sorry. So here's LNQ. Here is that flat triangle I'm not crazy about. So it either holds, good, or it breaks it and then comes back. That would be better. And this is what the trading guys are thinking. All right, friends. I hope that was helpful. If there was a chart I missed, drop it in the economics chat. I'm your host, Bill Noble. We'll see you tomorrow.